What is up, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, wherever the hell this ends up? I'm Christian from theoharris.com, and I'm going to talk today about a piece of content that I put out last week or like 2 weeks ago. My mantra here is the news is too homogenous. I don't mean like the CNN. I'm talking about like watch news. I think it's too homogenous. I think that what is being fed to the consumer is the same under a different label, right? It's the same with a different name, and I think that the consumer is way too smart. When I scroll through the news on different websites, whether it's Dinky or whether it's a blog to watch or whatever, and there's plenty of good content on those websites, but they do what they do and they do it well mostly. But there's nothing different ever. And as a consumer, not even as a blogger, as a consumer, I feel like I'm just bored. So what do? For Theo and Harris, create new content, right? So that kind of brings me in. Because news is homogenous, I found 1 Hour Watch. I was scrolling through Instagram one day and I found an account, 1 Hour Watch. The guy, Lee, who I didn't know at the time, draws one watch per day. And that watch can only take an hour. So it's one 1 hour watch per day. If like he was a stock, I would have bought stock in 1 Hour Watch right there. And not necessarily like projecting that it would get more popular, but that it was that good and no one was recognizing it, So naturally I shot him an email and we put together a piece of content. I didn't want to put any constraints on this guy who I don't know, right? He could have sent me anything. I have no idea. But I knew that if I gave him some sort of a constraint, like so many other bloggers do with just other, every piece of content they do is just within this like very cookie cutter mold, If I did that, then I would be kind of diluting what his genuine kind of thing is. So I didn't do that. Anyway, he sent in a watch and it was awesome. This is the watch that he drew in 1 hour for Theo and Harris. And it's just so cool. I mean, yes, it's a cool looking thing, but his whole article behind it was incredible. Please go read it on theoandharris.com, link below. Like his drawings or dislike his drawings, it's irrelevant. The fact that he does what he does and does it with such care and attention is impressive. Most people don't take their jobs as passionately and as seriously as this guy takes his part-time job. Talent and passion. Together, when those two things are together, I have like no hedge on that person. And whether they can run their own content alone or whether they need help from me, someone that can actually give them structure, whatever it is, that's fine. Like that we can figure out later. But I am just so like laser focused and interested on people that create content, and whether that is like, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. I don't even want to like confine it. Any piece of content that is interesting and passionate is going to win in the long game. Like that's it. I think that because the news is so homogenous, interesting content like 1 Hour Watch, like what we put out last week, is going to win in the net 5 years. And what I think is like so interesting about this process, about sharing that kind of design evolution, right? Because he'll add on to a design too, and like watching it be created, right? Like watching a watch happen, in design. You never see that. Like that, you see it in like a brief overview, like a 3-second clip, in an advertisement for Federico and Stott. Like otherwise, apart from that, it doesn't happen. Even that's probably staged and bullshit. But to see like the actual process, and who cares if the watch is never actually made? Of course, Lee's not actually going to produce these watches, but the point is that it's a step that is underrated that I think that we appreciate as consumers the most. Like design is paramount. I don't really give a shit how good the movement is if I just don't think it's cool to look at, personally. So I think that giving the window into that part of the industry, into the part of that development, is incredible. And that's why I chose Lee to do it. I don't think that bloggers and websites are spending consumers' time well. And what that does is it doesn't like lose them money in the short term, but it makes me less likely to give a shit about what you put out next time. And that's what I'm nervous about. Theo and Harris does so well as a team in content because everyone else is just putting out the same homogenous shit, right? So me contacting Lee, 1 Hour Watch, and having him take the spotlight, to me was just incredible. Like, I was just a spectator. I think that that's what makes the difference between Theo and Harris and other blogs. That's not the point. I just want to be a poster boy in this industry for time well spent, because I don't think it is. I think that bloggers and industry leaders are stuck in, like, molasses. Like, they're in this glue of an old mold, and same thing with watch, makers. It's archaic. Like, they're communicating like it's 1980s. Like, nothing has really evolved. As a consumer, I don't really put that much weight on news anymore. Like, I'd much rather hear an interesting, thing, whether it's like an opinion or whether it's a 1 Hour Watch or a photo report. It's just more interesting. It's time better spent. I'm just trying to make a move to get away from the dull kind of just repetitiveness, right? This like interminable cycle of boringness that is the industry news, and I think that Lee did an incredible job. I want to thank Lee and everyone like Lee that has an underrated piece of honest content or continuous stream of underrated pieces of content. And if you're out there and you think that your content's really cool, then send it my way. I'm more than happy to share with my audience. It's not about me. It's about making the audience feel like they're having a good 4 minutes or 30 seconds. I'm really big on the small content creators that have no credit because they're not backed by Swatch Group or they're not backed by Rolex. Create content, put it out there, hashtag it well. You don't need to be this incredible business, but so what? And if nothing happens, no big deal. But if you just increase your odds, make your content that you love to make, draw your watch, write your little poem or whatever it is, and hashtag it well and share it. People like me and people, that are even way bigger than me in the industry, we have way bigger audiences, are going to see that. And I think that the climate is going to change because the more discriminant the consumer is, the more discriminant or the more effort the large blogs are going to have to put into bringing thoughtful content. So you as the content creator have a huge advantage in the long term. I mean, not right now, but in the net game, you will be having an extreme amount of leverage because what you're making is really valuable and important, and no one is. The big boys don't care enough to make things that are small but thoughtful and important, things that will actually be consumed, happily by the market.